Welcome to another episode of
Money Matters.
Today is going to be an all girlies event, and we are going to be talking about women and money. Yes, I know what you're saying. Rolling your eyes, probably saying, fear women, do that and all that. But today we're going to see how we empower ourselves as women to be able to take our financial independence by the reins and do more with it. So my name is Sarah. I will let my girlies also introduce themselves, and we'll have a great conversation.
Hi, my name is Lorenda.
Hi everyone, my name is Sonia. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to see you too. So our topic today, we're going to be talking about women and money. So generally, when we hear women and money, I know the nuances and the perceptions that come with it. As a woman, what has been your impression when it comes to being tagged with money or being money conscious whatsoever?
It hasn't been great. It hasn't been great. I think as a woman, generally, if you are too ambitious when it comes to money, it's a bad thing. People generally think you will do anything for money if you are too ambitious, quote unquote. But I think it's fair for everyone to have some ambition, and it's fair to also want to have a comfortable life. So I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah, and I think everybody likes money. It's not only women. Yeah, don't you think that? Everybody likes comfort. So when they like tagging women as gold diggers, women like money. I don't think it's true. Everybody likes money.
Everybody needs and likes money.
Yes, very true.
So, sensitive topic. Gender roles. Someone says, I like gender roles. I like gender. The other person said, I like spring rolls. Somewhere. But when it comes to gender and money, like we're saying, everybody needs money. Sonia, what do you think about what has been the gender roles that you grew up with when it came to money and women, or money, men, women, the entire gamut of that?
I grew up very traditional. Okay. So dad was the primary breadwinner. Mom was always working. It wasn't as if she wasn't doing anything. She's been working for 30 plus years. Okay. But primarily my father was the breadwinner and he took care of the major things. She would also chip in, of course. Whenever you give the chop money, for example, somebody has to add up for it to actually balance in the house. So for the books to balance, even though it was a more traditional setup, my mother was still balancing things out with her income. So generally traditional, but you would find that the women still contribute.
Lorinda, you?
Oh yeah, same like Sonia. I also grew up in a traditional home, but my father was away most of the time.
Seafarer.
Yeah, seafarer. Yes. So he sends in the money. My mom did a great job at managing the money and also being as industrious as she was, set up other businesses to hold or augment whatever my dad brought in. So that's how I also grew up.
I grew up in the opposite. I didn't grow up in a traditional home. So I had my mother being the main breadwinner.
Oh, okay.
And so like single parents sort of arrangement. And so I pretty much saw her do everything. And I could tell the burden that was on a mother for 4 kids. And you're trying to take care of 4 kids all the way. So I grew up in a totally different setting. But I have seen others. I've just never seen it where the man is doing most of the bringing it in, the woman is augmenting. So I think I've grown up with the personality or the perspective that it's always like a 50-50 sort of
approach.
Thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, does that still, well, since I am the only unmarried person here, you're a married woman, how has that played out for you in your life now, Lorinda?
I think now we are in an era where you can't just leave everything on the man now because the economy is very hard. So we can say our grandparents in our father's times, things were okay. Maybe they would disagree then, but now things are so not easy anymore. So I think now the man and woman would have to find a way to keep the house together, yes. And then now a lot of women too are working now, so.
I largely agree with Lorinda. However, I think that something that we're seeing more and more these days is women being more active breadwinners. Not that wasn't the case back then, but it's now more apparent, I think maybe due to social media or due to the internet. But basically, we see more and more today women who are actively working while it's maybe not be as prevalent as it is out there than it is here, but we see that women are actually doing more. And it is challenging a lot of men in terms of their way they were brought up. But I think it's something that's rising a lot these days.
So it means we've seen from our parents' time where men have been the main breadwinners and then women have supported. And then currently what we are seeing is it's more of a partnership. But
Yeah.
do women still exist where in today's economy they might, but what's your take on the man being the sole breadwinner because financially he's supposed to be that way, and then the woman just takes care of the kids, so she's like a stay-at-home mom?
Nowadays, that seems like a pipe dream. It seems like a pipe dream. It seems like you are living in Delulu land if you expect that your husband will take care of everything from
Head to toe.
diapers all
Yeah.
the way to your own hair or whatever it is. It seems like it is practically impossible. Part
But
of it
is
is
it
what
happening for some
Lorenda
people?
mentioned.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I actually don't know anybody who is like that.
Oh.
And I know quite a few people. I don't think I know any woman whose husband pays for everything from the beginning to the
Unless
end.
the Dubai videos you see.
Maybe the Dubai housewives, maybe,
Yes, yes.
but
But you
I
hear
don't know
stories
anybody.
of women, sometimes social media, where I think one of them that I saw, he asked her to stay home, and she said the arrangement is, because I'm a working woman already, you're going to have to pay me my salary.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then he started
I saw that.
reducing it, and then she decides to go out for a job. So she goes to get the job, and he says, "You are not leaving my house. If you leave my house and you go for that job, you better stay out and leave the kids." And so this woman was in a dilemma, which kind of tells us that inversely, as a woman, you should be able to have your own money at certain point, because then
Yeah.
he wasn't buying stuff. And I think I may be wrong, but I believe that when you are putting such a financial burden on someone, we're not doing it intentionally, but because he says you stay home, it gets to a point where he feels like you're a burden and like you're one of the kids. So I want to
think
do
it's
my hair.
inherent.
you can't.
It happens.
Yeah, it does.
Like we have the best intentions when we start things. However, over time, the value of the thing we started reduces.
Yeah.
That's what I think happens.
Yeah.
So the same person who was so intentional about you staying home, being with the kids, making sure that they are growing well, there's an eye on them at every point in time. That same person now, when you ask him for money to get your hair done,
Yeah.
you don't bring anything to the table. You are stressing me out. And it's not intentional. It's just I guess the utility has reduced over time. So it's pretty normal.
And I think there's some kind of fulfillment that comes with earning your own money and spending it, not having to ask somebody every little thing to get money
Miranda,
to
let me
do
push
something.
back on that. There's a
Yeah.
fulfillment in spending money. Whether it's your own money or not, there's fulfillment in spending money.
What I mean is, imagine you need to do your hair, you need to do your nails, and every time you have to ask somebody to give you that.
Yes, there's some sort of autonomy that is taken away from you.
Yes. So, yeah, I believe we should have our own money too. And we should spend money actually. Yeah.
Where does having money make you disrespectful or not submissive in a relationship?
I think it's society.
It's societal.
This is a
societal.
perception.
Yes.
I don't know. I do know that back then, because women had fewer options because of financial constraints, they were quote unquote submissive. But I watched a video some time ago. Submission is not the same as obedience. Let's just be. So just to define, obedience is, as the lady defined it, you want to travel to some place, let's say London. You do not have the money to travel to London. You ask your odogu to give you the money to go to London, and he says, sit down, I will give you the money in a month's time, and you sit. You have obeyed. You have the money to go to London. You tell your odogu, I want to go to London next week, and he says, oh, wait for me, I'd like to go with you next month, and you wait. That is submission. There's a
giving
difference.
him your will, sort of.
You have the ability to do it, and then you choose not to do it because he asked you not to do it. It's different from back then when you didn't have the financial autonomy, and then he tells you not to do something, and then you don't do it. So if you ask me, I mean, it's not necessarily disobedience per se. You just have more options. And so for that reason, you are able to take steps without the man's inputs. Whether you choose to do it or not depends on, I guess, the dynamic of your relationship, the person you are married to, etc. But women are bolder now because they do have the option. And that could come across as disobedience.
So they are taking their financial freedoms a lot more seriously.
They are taking it it's in their hands now, as opposed to being in their husband's hands.
But I'm sure you've all been single because you're married, and during your single phase, you could do stuff with your own money that
Yeah.
you don't have to consult somebody else.
Sure.
But in terms of transitioning that to marriage, so let's say I earn more than when I was dating my husband. Amen.
Amen. Amen to that.
Amen.
I earned more than him, or maybe say he earns more than me, and now we're married, and he probably had a hiccup in his employment, and so now I am the breadwinner. How do I transition that phase as a woman? Because now I'm in a place where I earn more. Societally, I'll be told, okay, despite the fact that you are the wife, you should be able to come back home after you've done everything out there and still do the very things you're supposed to do. I see Sonia grimacing, kind of where it's going, and all that. So how do you balance that out? Because now, inevitably, the man is the breadwinner, as we've seen traditionally in our part of the world. But now it looks as if there's this hiccup and you are the one taking charge. And how do you balance it out and manage that situation so you don't create a monster out of it?
Lorinda, this one, Jim, please go first.
But personally, I think we've watched a lot of Nigerian movies or movies that portray these scenarios. But honestly, I think it's all boils down to the kind of person you married. Because if you don't talk about your problems outside, nobody will know what's happening in your home. I've seen situations where fathers have gone out of jobs. The mother goes into the room, gives the man the money, and the man comes out to give to the kids. So that's like saving face. So the children don't even know what's happening in the household. So I believe that it depends on who you marry. It doesn't have to, because if the man is going to be disgruntled, no matter what you do, he'll be disgruntled. Whether you're giving him the money in the room, whether you're giving it to him in front of the kids. So I think it all boils down to the person you marry. Yeah.
I think
It has nothing to do with whether you're any more than him, he's any more than him, he's lost a job. Because as Sonia said, those times, our mother's times, they were not working. The men were taking care of them, taking care of the home. There was no conflict and I'm
Maybe
sure
because they didn't have options.
the men or
The
The women.
but I'm sure these scenarios too are happening. But some of us, as we mentioned, we grew up knowing that our fathers were the ones who were providing. Maybe there was a time that he was not the one providing, and
But
our
should it
moms were
always
the
be
ones.
so? Where kids are grown to understand that in terms of gender roles, daddy is the one that provides. Because then that's a way of training your daughters as well to know that I need to relax when I'm older and let a man.
This was why my face went that way. So part of it is who you married, agreed.
yeah.
The other part of it is how you are socialized.
Yeah, true.
We are socialized very traditionally in this part of the world. Your situation was different because that is what you lived.
Yeah.
For most of us in two parents' households, that was our reality. Most of us saw the traditional approach. And so that is how the boys were trained, or that is how the girls were trained. And we grew up into men and women who believe those things inherently because that is what we saw. And so your partner inherently may have an open mindset, but how he was trained is literally fighting that. And
Yeah.
so personally, I think that marriage is a partnership. It's not, the roles are fluid. It's not set in stone. Some things are traditional because of the way we are socialized. But even then, I think that there's a conversation that can be had, right? And so even when the woman becomes the primary breadwinner, you should be able to have those conversations and not expect that the traditionally set rules continue regardless of the situation, right? And so I'm not saying that you definitely have to now take over taking care of the children. And
Or else I bring the money home,
because
yes.
I bring the money home. But in this case, even if I'm working and we go home, you can be doing dishes, I can be doing homework, and it's normal. And so if the script flips, and I'm the one who is doing the bulk of the breadwinning, I'm not expecting that you become a Kujo Besia. No. But a conversation can be had. And then the work or the load can be redistributed to reflect it. Because maybe you have more time on your hands. I remember those days, my mother was doing, she was doing her degree in city campus, right? So it's evenings. My father initially would wait for her to close, 9 p.m. And then she'll come home and then now find him something to eat. That wasn't working.
It wouldn't even
Because
work today.
he would be hungry for so long, right? And so eventually he figured out a way to sort himself out. When she comes home, of course, there's a disaster in the kitchen. She will clean it up, but at least he's found something to eat. He sorted out the kids and all of them. We are fine. And that is it. Like, it's everybody complements each other. And so I don't expect that if the script flips, you still expect that everybody sticks to their traditional rules. And I've heard some really crazy stories about slide the ATM to the man and then go to the room and give him the money. That one there is true. It depends on who you marry. Yeah. Recently, I went to a shop. I passed the ATM to my husband in the full glare of the people. And then my husband said they were looking at him weird. He didn't care. Because what's the point? My wife is a capable, but she works. Why do I have to be the only one who pays for anything? Right? And besides, when we go home, do you know what we do? Maybe he transferred that money to me. You understand? So some of these things, it's just, it's societal.
And not being
it's just
society, really.
Societal.
So what's your take on, for younger people, or maybe married or not married today, we can address both of these people, joint accounts and stuff. In the light of knowing who you marry and everything, joint accounts and caring for the home. Because I think we've established that as a woman, you need to also have a source of income that you bring to the table, whether you're in a relationship or whether you decide not to marry and so you're celibate and you're there, or you are married, something that you can take care of and you're not depending on someone to foot those bills for you. But what's also empowers, or what do you think in the stead of taking care of the home, joint accounts and those kind of things?
So in my earlier submission, I mentioned that things are not as they were some few years ago or some years ago. So I think it's just fair, if you really love somebody, you don't leave all the burden on the person, you pitch in to help. So yeah, a lot now is very common among couples now where there's a joint account for running the home. Because we all use the electricity, we all use the water. So yeah, joint account is very good. If it's not a joint account, let it be an account that everybody pitches in to put in some amount of money. It doesn't have to be equal, but at least everybody appreciates it if someone is pitching in to help. So yeah, I think an account, it's very necessary to run the home. Because if they fix that new ECG meter on your wall,
my dear,
you have to pay the bill.
True.
I saw your face again.
I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all solution. It depends on the couple. I think that personalities differ, and a lot of the challenges we have in marriage is just personality clashes. Money is one of the big issues in marriage.
Very big.
And so I think that it depends on the personalities involved. If one personality is a spender, one personality is a saver, and I mean, I may be wrong, but women like to see money in their accounts. So they see the money and it just gives them some comforts. And the men, things need to be done, so the money needs to move.
To move, yeah.
Having the joint account to take care of things in the home works. I know a couple that actually both their salaries enter one account and they spend everything from there. They do both get their own spending money, but they run one account in the house so everybody sees where all the money is going. They are able to deal with it, and so they can do that. It doesn't cause issues. But more often than not, you find that the personalities are opposing. One person is the spender and one person is a saver and wants to see high balances in their account, right? And so in those instances, I would go with what Lorinda proposed. You can have a joint account, but have your own separate accounts as well. So whoever wants to see large balances in their accounts has their own personal accounts for that. So that gives them some comfort. And whoever wants to be moving money around also has his accounts for that, so that they do what they need to do. Because at the end of the day, the house gets taken care of. There's a joint account that takes care of all of those. The kids are sorted and all that. So you have your own playing money to do what you want to do with it.
Makes sense. And based on the spender-saver thing,
Dynamic.
which sometimes can switch, why do you think women then start to hide things from their husbands? So I'm building a house. He doesn't know I'm doing this. Must you even run everything by your partner? So partner, whether you're married or unmarried, and why we tend to hide certain things.
There are some things that I find very strange in marriage. Like privacy in marriage is very strange to me. I don't understand. You are exchanging body fluids. How do you have privacy? Do you
How
get what
private
I'm
can it
saying?
get?
Yeah, how private can it get, Lorinda? Like, I don't understand. Generally speaking, I think that you generally have to have all the conversations out in the open. I don't believe in you have to hide this or that from your husband, generally speaking. But we've all heard one story or the other of gentleman A, who whenever he hears that his wife has money, finds a way to get that money from her and spends it on frivolous things or spends it on things that do not bring any value to the home. We've all heard those stories. And so I cannot fault those women who knowing the nature of their husband, do such things. It is probably because you want to, you're counteracting that's fault of his. So you're building some sort of net worth for the family to fall on in hard times or something. In that instance, if that's the thinking, it's fair because you know how your husband is or you know how your wife is, right? But then if there are those people whose families are, your husband is not your family, your wife is not your family, no, that's the thinking, please. I don't subscribe at all. Generally, I think all conversations should be had in the open.
So should you tell your husband he's a beneficiary on your account? Let's say your pension,
Your life
contributions,
insurance
your
account?
Life insurance, yes. Let's say he finds out that you've insured yourself to like 500,000, and then you feel, because you get instances where women are filling forms and they are beneficiaries before marriage.
Yeah, kids.
They have siblings. Then they marry him. He's the one. And some of them come back and change it immediately. And when they have a child, the child is a beneficiary and a sister. And the claim is, if I die right now,
He
there'll be
can
another
marry
Mrs.
somebody else.
XYZ.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will worry about
As if when he dies, so you see men typically using their wives
Their
and their
wives,
kids because they
yeah.
have the whole cater for the family agenda, but then women typically don't. And I don't know what kind of advice would give to women.
I'll push back on that. I don't know women who typically, I don't know that women typically don't.
They actually don't.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen the
Yeah.
data. I don't know anybody, because, okay, these are not really conversations people have out in the open, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling to believe that the majority of women rather consider their children and siblings over their husbands. I'm struggling with that. Because at
Well,
the
I
end
have
of
a
the
few
day,
friends and I have seen it before, so.
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
thing
I
where
think,
women
yeah.
kind of, and they always say it. I mean, he would always get a Mrs. So you're even told that when you're getting property with your husband, it shouldn't be Mr. and Mrs. A. It should be, let's say,
Mr.
Sonia
and
A and Kweku A.
yes.
Because there can always be a Mr. and Mrs. A. And I think that it's also always stemming from the fear of being taken for granted or something happens.
I think
and
we've
then
heard
you're
too
out.
many
Yeah,
horror
too many
stories.
I watched so many movies.
Watch too many movies.
But what's
yes.
the silver lining for women? We know that as a woman, men and women both need money. And so women also need to plan and ensure that they're also having money coming in. So you're not a personal burden, because as a human being, you're in your own human right to be able to enjoy your life. And you need to be able to save for that so you're not a burden. So it's not necessarily on the gender part, but I think somewhere you also want your husbands to take care of you all the same.
Such
My
life.
dear, my dear, all of us aspire to be Habibi. Because, I mean, working for your own money is good. Not gonna lie. Having the autonomy to spend your own money is great. However, it does get tiring sometimes. And as women too, we just like to be babied and coddled sometimes. And it's nice to spend your husband's money. Not gonna lie.
It's
But I
sweet, actually.
still honestly believe everybody should have their own source of money, because priorities are different. What a man will prioritize is not, he will not buy you the bone straight you're looking for, maybe. You could buy that bone straight yourself. So you should always have your own source of money.
So in light of making your own money and making it multiplied, because as women as well, maybe they are very frugal women, but I think that generally we get taken by the frivolous things around us. What would you advise when I get my salary as a woman? How do I, if I'm in formal employment, or even if I'm not in formal employment and I'm doing something, how do I manage myself such that I'm building that kind of future for myself? Lorinda.
Okay, but anytime you ask this question, you realize I always go like, everybody needs money, everybody needs to do this. So even as a woman, once you're working, and when we start working, most of us started out as singles, and we have to maintain ourselves. Even if you're living in your parents' home, we can't, at a certain age, you cannot still be calling them that Daddy, I need money. I need to
For
buy
my
this
hair,
for my
for
hair.
my nails.
Dude, they are paying light bill to cover you already in that house and water bill. So, as an individual, you should be able to save some amount of money to help yourself and even build yourself. And nowadays, you realize that we are even marrying late. So people are even taking advantage of these monies they save for themselves to build themselves. So that at least you can also be what you want, build up yourself to get to what you want. I want a man who is this. You yourself, when was the last time after senior high school or university which you
want
were
everything
forced
you
to
can
do?
find in yourself.
Some people don't even want to pursue anything again.
Yeah.
But they have high standards for the men they want to marry. So I think if you save, you are able to save and build wealth. You're able to also build yourself up to the kind of man that you want to spend his money eventually. So I think savings is good as a woman when you're working. It makes you older. Yeah, gives you more options. Yeah, it's good. Way more options. Yeah. Anytime business plan a girl, you leave the chat. Oh, every or you still have to ask me. Oh my goodness. No, not even when you're single. When you're going somewhere, you leave the chat because you don't have money. You are spending all your money. Oh.
But I want to because of your parents. But your parents wanted to leave the house.
But when you have the money, you certainly know
that one is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, so,
sure.
yeah.
Do you guys do any business opportunities or ideas aside your real life like that? And how can you juggle that?
Personally, I don't think my dream is not to suffer. Generally speaking. And not that coming to work is suffering, but I think that you deserve downtime. That's how I operate. And so I believe in letting my money work for me rather than using my body to make the money.
Yeah.
So in terms of I'll go home and I'm trying to do another side gig or something, I want to be present. I want to be active in my children's lives. I do not want to go home and try and be juggling something else. So I'll leave that one to my husband and try and be more present and active in my people's lives at home. That's what I personally believe. I do my savings and then I do investments with that. I make investments with my money and let that work for me rather than trying to do a side gig. I'm yet to find a side gig that is as that's simple and easy.
They are great, but the expectation is not that they will give you so much. But you need to take the opportunity cost of whether it's taking your time.
That's
and
my
not
point.
getting
For me, the opportunity cost is high. I have very young kids. It is not when I get home that I'm trying to do virtual assistance work or something of the sort, or try and sell and be trying to make Instagram videos and things for people to come and buy my products. It's not now. Maybe it will change in future when they grow older and need me less. Maybe. But right now, when I go home, I'm with them.
That's beautiful. And that is actually a calling on its own. Learn
But contrary to Sonia, I'm sure everybody knows me by now in this company.
Everything. Lorenda sells everything.
In fact, when my colleagues see me, like, what do you have for me today? Because I think it's because of the nature of the work I do, and I just love sales. I love to see things moving around. Like, if someone needs something and I know the person who sells it, trust Lorenda. Even last week, a colleague came to Lorenda, I need a shoe. I was like, oh, I don't sell shoes. So I have found a way to balance it. I make good use of my social media, and I think because of my personality too. So once I'm engaging you, I'm selling something. So I have a lot of side hustles. Whatever is in season, I'm selling. But I don't sell human beings.
I love mangoes.
Sure.
Mangoes.
When they're in season.
I can get you mangoes.
But how do you balance it, Lorenda? How do you balance it between work, home, and the side hustles?
Yeah. Sometimes, I think it all boils down to my mom. So my mom has always been on the move, selling something, opening a shop, doing this. So I've always been involved or carried along in the process with my siblings. So actually, the two siblings I have, they are doing their own things. They're not working for anyone. So I think I discovered it in my calling late. so it's always been a part of me. I need to sell something. When I need to do something. So juggling is not always easy. Sometimes, I have to come and contact somebody after work that I'm selling this is moving around. But I think I let when I do the hard work, then I make people do refer me to others. So yeah, if somebody needs something, you know who to call. If someone needs something, and I make good use of my my social media, especially my WhatsApp, because you know what I do.
It's not just memes.
I meet I meet a lot of people, so I store a lot of numbers. So if I have something, I have more reach. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not, some days it's not easy at all to try to take pictures of stuff that I'm selling. Sometimes I just give up, I'm tired. But sometimes too, I pick it up. So I just find a balance. I think it's already in there somewhere. So I find a way to go about it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something I saw online. There's this notion that women have to be great at everything at the same time.
No, it's
I
not
don't think
possible.
it's possible.
It's not possible.
Whenever you are doing something great, something else is suffering. So I choose my battles. That's how I approach it. And so I will not today, side hustle is not for me. Maybe in the next few years when my kids are older,
Yeah.
fine. But right now, I'm choosing my battles. So if I'm doing well at work and I'm doing well at home, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not 50, it's not 100.
Yeah.
Some days it'll be 100 here, 80 here, and things like that. But that's what I'm choosing right now.
That's beautiful. Because I think sometimes we as women, we get guilty if we don't have what Lorinda innately has. And so I'm not doing.
Proverbs, 32 woman.
But we forget that the Proverbs 31 woman,
31.
she had help.
Yeah.
And today as Ghanaian women, sometimes even single women, it's difficult because you're like, hey, am I going to give my stuff to someone to wash? I'm a lazy woman. So we don't know the ability, because letting your money also work for you is, if you're letting somebody also do your laundry and freeing yourself to do other things, you have time.
Your
And
money
time
is
a
worth
commodity.
more
Exactly.
than
the time you have to spend to do all that cleaning. Occasionally and all that, but I think we've grown in an era where if you're not doing that, you feel like you're not being a hard-working woman.
Yes, they'll quote it back at you. The Proverbs 31 woman wakes up before dawn.
She had
and
maids
this.
to
She
help
had
her.
maids.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had me.
She had maids to
Okay,
help her. She had
sometimes your free time is more valuable than the time you spend doing those
other
things that
things.
people expect you to do. So I find that the expectations on women are up here, but there are easier ways of doing everything. And we have to just be open-minded, figure out more innovative ways of doing these things. And your partner is very key in these things, because some men believe in, let me give you a typical example. My dad was unhappy when my mother first bought a blender in our house. So when I was younger, I don't remember exactly when, but when I was much younger, we didn't have a blender. We used to do the asanka. And we even had a grinding stone in the house. It was that traditional. And then my mother buys a blender because she finds that her time is spent better doing other things while the blender is doing the grinding for her. And my dad got upset because he said, how would we learn how to grind pepper, for example? We already knew how to grind pepper. The blender saved my mother way more time than us learning how, and the funny thing is we already knew it. So things like that, you have to have the right partner in all these things to make sure you are actually...
I mean, you're not far from, because I know a relative that his wife was pregnant, and we said, buy a washing machine because we had bought one. And he said, no, that's not what our mother taught us. And 3 years down the line, he's using it, because it's part of the things that I think, coming to this particular topic I want us to talk about, that women are afraid to build, some women, their own personal well-being, because in creating wealth and being financially independent, your well-being is also important.
It's part of your wealth.
Yes,
as a woman.
exactly. And you need to be able to prioritize it. And I think this is one of the things, the societal stuff, that people will see you are grinding or you're using a washing machine, and so based on that,
They tag you, you're an
So you
industrious
won't do it.
woman,
Yes.
or you are a lazy woman.
exactly. But what other things do you think holds women back from being able to build your personal well-being? And then you figure out that she's worked 30, 40 years of her life. She gets her pension, she's gone, because she spent her whole life trying to take care of herself, not herself, but her kids, her husband, family, and all that, and then she cannot enjoy that.
There's this one thing that is not really spoken, but it's usually trending among women. It's when a man sees that I have money, I've built, the man will not love me for who I am. He's just coming to spend my money. So a lot of some women do not, either they are not interested in doing that, they just want a man to come and marry them. Hey, why would I build all this for a man to not love me for who I am and come for my money? But I don't think it's true. That's why some women to hide things, because if the man sees I'm all this, he might feel intimidated and
not approach me or
So
something.
some of these
I have
things are
friends
there.
who's they
It's
have
not spoken.
cars. They have
Yeah.
cars. Their mothers have told them to park the cars
Yes.
and walk, or park the cars and take taxis.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Because a man will see you and say you are too.
high class for
Because
me.
of the type of car you're driving, so you're...
I have a friend
yeah.
who drives an ML. It's not even hers, but it's a perception thing. People see and have the impression that you're a high maintenance girl, and so they will
they
not
kind of-
approach
Yes,
you.
your
And
man will approach
I'm
you.
like, everybody needs money. Money is good.
It's good.
A woman that can add to the wealth you have as a man is an asset.
It's an asset, yeah.
And so these perceptions, they hurt women more than helping us.
That's why some don't want to build their wealth. They wouldn't put in all that effort to do anything. And some women also feel that, hey, I should be there and be found by a man to take care of me. So why should I build wealth? No.
Yeah.
I'll feel cheated out of the whole equation. You should come in. That's also not being fair, because these same women too, when their brothers are going through that, they want to chew up their wives. Why should my brother do all this? But they're also doing the same thing. So yeah.
But that was wholesome.
You mentioned earlier that there's fulfillment in spending. It's wonderful when you have your own money and then your husband gives you money. There's a different joy that comes from your husband's money that you are spending.
There's a joy when it comes from spending
Anybody else's money. But I think it's
yours.
really different when it's your husband. When you can say, oh, my phone, my husband bought it for me. You've got it all, but my husband bought it for me. My husband just bought me a Stanley Cup. You should see how I'm carrying the cup around.
The Stanley
You're
Cup
drinking
cannot
water
sit in a
everywhere.
trust.
See,
You can't sit in it.
I'm carrying the cup around with so much joy. Not that
Now
I
you
couldn't buy
drink so
it
much
all.
water.
I drink so much water. Not because I couldn't buy my own Stanley, but my husband bought it for me. There's something else. So your husband knows you're an asset, but then he's willing and able to spend on you, and the joy is different. So yeah, personally, I believe every woman should have something she's doing. It may not have to be a 9 to 5. Something you do that brings you money that you can do 1 or 2 in the house. Your husband will not buy the calipo for the children. No. You're the one who buy the calipo. If you go to your husband for calipo every day, he will look at you too. You understand? So you should have something you are bringing to the table. It may not be huge, but something that you can run around with that gives you some autonomy in your relationship.
And to add to what Sonia says, it's just natural with human beings. If you make things easier for me, you are more endearing towards, like I'm more endeared towards you. Yeah, this is a beautiful man. She's helping me at home, making things easy. Oh, I saw something nice. Let me get it for her. It's nice, but if every time she's draining me, he will see something that you really need, and he will,
Oh, but just to balance the narrative a little bit, non-financial contributions are still contributions. They are still
Take that however
tell
you
them
wish.
society.
So please,
Yes.
the fact that the woman is not bringing so much financially to the relationship does not reduce her importance or the
But
impact
some are very
in the
bad.
relationship.
Some are very bad. Like some women, you know, they're intentionally doing it. Like, it's that bad.
You know, there's this narrative that if you don't stress your man,
Yes.
he will not be ambitious.
That's terrible.
There's also that school of thoughts.
Well, I think what we are all agreeing on is, one, women need to have something as a woman. You need to be able to bring something to the table, unless you are the table.
Of course.
Bringing something to the table. And yes, there are other things like, for us as women, we've gone through eras of work where equal pay and all that, and things have changed. And so we're not saying equality, but we're saying equity. We're saying that as a woman, be financially independent for yourself.
Yeah, yourself
so
first.
that you can be fulfilled in yourself first
Totally
before you
agreed.
think of somebody else fulfilling you. That's if you want to get married, you want to have children, or you want to be child-free, before you come to somebody fulfilling. Ladies, I think it's been a great time.
It's been
I
lovely.
enjoyed every bit of it. And we know that women and money, there's some positivity because you can be independent. And everybody needs money, not just a
not
woman
just
that has
a
to
woman.
depend on a man. So it's been a lovely talk. I can't wait for us to do it again, a part 2 of this.
Yeah.
And it will be bye from us for now. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.